All right. It's 11:15. We are going to get started. So welcome everybody, and thank you for letting us know where you're from, what you're teaching. I'm excited to see people from all over the country here today to learn more about using TCI with Google Classroom. My name is Amanda Crook, and I work mostly behind the scenes at TCI, answering customers' emails, phone calls. You may have exchanged emails with me at one point. But I'm also a former teacher. I taught social studies and French, high school and middle school. So I do know what kind of world you're coming from, and so I'm happy to be here today to show you all about how to make your life a little bit easier by integrating your TCI account with Google Classroom. So some housekeeping things. I know we've been having issues with the Q&A. We're going to blame that on Zoom. Pretty sure it's a bug on their part. And so if you have any questions, we're going to use the chat. So I've got my colleagues, Kelsey and Derek here, and Natasha as well. They're going to be monitoring the chat. They might, interrupt me and ask a question live, or they might answer you in the chat. When you're sending a message, make sure that you switch it to everyone. So it should see at the bottom where it says to. If you just do hosts and panelists, only we at TCI can see it. So we want to make sure everyone can engage and interact in the chat. If you need closed captioning, let's see, I think I need to enable that. Okay, so I've enabled closed captioning, and you should be able to start that if you need a live transcript. Oh, I guess I've started it on myself. Okay. All right, so first we're going to start a poll asking how do you use Google Classroom? So you should see it up on your screen now. So which of the following best describes how you use Google Classroom? So does your district have it, but you don't really use it much? Do you use it just to communicate with your students? Do your students use it for all of their assignments, including even tests and quizzes? Or do you use it for everything? You know, it's your grade book, everything is posted there, students access everything there. It is your end all be all for managing your class. So I'll leave that up there for a few more moments, give you a chance to respond. Still seeing responses come in, this is great. Okay, I'm gonna end the poll because I'm seeing responses slow down. So hurry up and get in there if you haven't yet. All right, so let's take a look at the results. So it looks like the majority of you use it for all of your assignments. And it's kind of a mix, but mostly you're using it mainly to communicate with your students. So that's great. Maybe if your district has it, but you don't use it much, maybe this session today will inspire you to use it more once you see how TCI integrates with Google Classroom. All right. So our agenda today, we're going to look at a case study of a teacher who's new to TCI, and they're wondering how to, use it with Google Classroom. So we're going to talk about, look at why you would want to use Google Classroom with TCI. Then we'll walk you through how to set up the Google Classroom integration. And then we'll look at using assignments, assessments, and grades and syncing that all from TCI into Google Classroom. And first, though, I wanted to shout out our Help Center. We switched to a brand new Help Center earlier this year, and we hope it is much more user-friendly and easier to navigate. And so we'll give you the link at the end. It's also just help.teachtci.com. But all of the instructions we're going to go through in the setup is here under the Learning Management Systems box. And this is our homepage. So again, we will bring this back up at the end of the session today, but just want you to know that this is here for you. All right, so we're going to look at our case study. We've got this video from a teacher, Mr. Mormon, who is asking for some help with using his TCI account and Google Classroom. So let's see what he has to say.
Hi there. I have a couple questions I'm hoping you can help me with today. I'm using your History Alive United States Through Industrialism program with my 8th grade students, and we're getting ready to study this lesson on the era of reform. And I love the fact that you have the text here online. But we use this LMS system. We actually use Google Classroom. And I'm trying to figure out how I can get this text, this informational text, linked into or opened up in or some kind of integration to my Google Classroom. And then I noticed, like, underneath the text you have some activities and some notes that students will have to take. I'm hoping that they can access that into Google Classroom as well. So that's the first part of my question. And then just kind of thinking ahead, I was poking around in your assessments over here, and I noticed that you have these wonderful pre-made assessments that I can use. I would like my students to be able to access these assessments also into Google Classroom. So I'm hoping there's a way to do that. And then the third part of my question, which is still kind of related here, as I was poking through the lesson overview, I noticed that there's, in this classroom activity, there's these slides that I can use as a teacher to kind of take the students through the activity. It gives them some visuals. It allows me to model. But there sometimes I have kids that are absent, or I just want the students to reference this information later. Is there a way that I can also share these slides with my students and somehow link that to my Google Classroom? Uh, any help you can give me would be great. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, so Mr. Mormon is asking for help with getting assignments and assessments into Google Classroom. So we're going to take a look at how we're going to do that in a moment. So, as he mentioned, there's a lot of content in TCI. There's the text, handouts, slides, the notebook assignments, lesson games. There's grading. So Mr. Mormon is also in a district that requires teachers to use Google Classroom. So he really wants to know, how can I integrate all of this together? How can I get my assignments synced into Google Classroom? Students can access the assignments straight from Classroom in TCI. And then once I grade their work, how does it sync over to Google Classroom? So we're going to show you how to do that. So we're going to look at two things live in a TCI account and Google Classroom. So first, we're going to show you how to link your TCI account to Google Classroom. So there's 3 separate steps for that. So I'll show you that first. And then we're going to look at how to sync assignments, assessments, and grades. All right, so I'm going to get into my TCI account. So this is my teacher account. And we're going to show the setup first. So when you log in, you might be here or on the dashboard. You're going to go to settings and then click integration. So this step is where you're connecting your Google account. So that's your district email, Google account. So mine's already done here. But basically you're going to see a button like connect to Google Classroom or to Google, and you're just going to click that button and it'll prompt you to select your Google account. You sign into your Google account, allow, set the permissions, and then you're connected. Okay, so that's step 1. You've got to do that one first. All right, so now I've connected my Google account. I'm next going to connect my classes. So I'm going to go over to my classes in the sidebar. All right, so I've already connected my first period class and my student. So here's a little icon letting me know that my one student in here is connected to Google. And it looks like this here under action. I can disconnect and I can manage my students. So let's say a new student is added to first period in Google Classroom. I can come here and, as long as they have a TCI account, I can connect them. So I'm going to connect second period to Google. So I'm going to go to Actions and connect to Google Classroom. So here it's showing me my 3 classes in Google. First period is already connected, so I can't select that one anyways, but this is my second period. So I'm going to pick that one and connect. And it's as easy as that. So now my class is connected. So the final step in the setup is to connect my students. So I'm going to go back to Actions, Manage Students on Google Classroom. Now this student has already been done, but when you get here, you can just click this Auto Match Students, and it'll recognize your roster in Google Classroom with your roster in TCI and match up, because usually it's the same username or name. You can also manually match them if needed, but usually this works 100%. And as long as they have an account in both places, it will auto match pretty seamlessly. Then I click next and just confirm that I'm going to match these students. And now when I create an assignment in TCI, it is going to sync over to my class. Okay. So you can see on the assignments page over here, go in the sidebar. So I already created this assignment, and this icon lets you know that it's synced to Google Classroom, and it's pretty much immediate. So let's look at an example. I'm going to create a new assignment, and I'm going to assign, we were looking at lesson 20, an era of reform. And I'm going to assign the lesson game this time to everyone. Let's make it due tomorrow. I'm going to give it a title because one pro tip is that if you don't give it an assignment name in here in Google, it's just going to say an era of reform. So, so I like to add a title just to organize all of my assignments. So I'm going to put the lesson 20 lesson game. All right, and so it immediately has that Google Classroom icon. So now I'm going to go to my class. So you can see the assignment I already did was here. But if I come to classwork, so I've got the one that I already published. The lesson game assignment is here, but it's a draft. So it will always be a draft assignment in Google once you create it in TCI. So I need to edit. And you can make changes here, if you want to change the directions, but the link to the lesson game is here. So that's how students would access it. And then I gotta move my little camera over. And then I'm going to assign it. And that publishes it for my students. So then now they can access it from their stream or classwork. And so when students go to this lesson game, they would just click here. And if they're already signed in, they'll be taken straight to the lesson game. If they are not signed in, they can just click sign in with Google on our sign in page, and boom, there they are. And it'll take them to the lesson game. And once they complete it, the scores will sync over into the grade book for this assignment. So let's take a look at, so we've done one assignment. We're going to take a look at grading, but I'll pause for a moment. Are there any questions?
I know. I mean, I was just about to interrupt you. So no,
Yes.
it's so good. I love that like that whole first part, right? The linking your Google account and Google Classroom, the connecting it, all of those things made sense. I didn't see a ton of questions in there. And I know we also have our coworker, Natasha, she added our help article with all those steps. So if you're
Oh,
watching
great.
this today and you're like, oh man, I don't remember, we've got
Some-
that linked in there. We can throw it in the chat again. So it really is just those step-by-step pieces
Yeah.
as we're going through. So I just have some great feedback in here in terms of districts or people that are loving the it posts and draft, and they have that flexibility, and people that have used Google and they like it. So
Great.
that's great. Yeah, I think you're on the right track in terms of what to show.
Okay.
I do see Christine is asking, we'll be able to watch this again. Absolutely. All of these are going to be recorded. We're going to post them on our webpage so that you can go back and watch them too, and kind of be able to pause as Amanda's walked through each of these steps.
Yep.
Awesome.
Okay, so let's take a look at grading. So I'm going to click on my grades. All right, so I'm going to drop down to lesson 20 because I know this student turned in their work. Just letting it load. There we go. Okay, so I'm grading this notebook by section, and this student turned in the 3 sections that I had assigned. So let's take a look. So they've got the 3 sections here turned in. So if you haven't done this before in TCI, you can just expand the section that you see was turned in. Here are my students' answers. Oh my gosh, they are right on track. They got 100% on this section.
Wow, those are some great students in there, Amanda.
Yes, they may or may not have had access to the answer key.
I love it.
All right, so let's give them a 5 here for section 1, and then this one has a drawing prompt, so I can actually expand that to view it in full screen, since it's a little small right here. And same here, I can look at their answers here in detail. All right, so let's give them a 4. Oops, 4 on that one, just for an example. Okay, so I've entered their grades. I'm gonna go back to the grades page. So right now it's showing it's a low score because it's out of the entire notebook, but so they got a 14 on this particular assignment. So let's go back to my classroom, and this was that assignment here. So intro to section 2 for lesson 20. And if I go to my grades, okay, so here's that assignment. It's already there. If I was on the grades page in Google and I came here after grading in TCI, I might need to refresh the page, but it's really as seamless as that. You grade those particular, sections on the assignment in TCI, and the grades are posted in Google. So any questions coming up on grading?
Amanda, as you're in the gradebook, just because there's a couple ones, I know this isn't specific to Google, but the TCI one, just in terms of how people can change it to grade by lesson or section, right?
Oh, yeah.
To be able to set it up that way.
Yeah, so the default is grade by lesson. So you would just click that little radio button here to grade by lesson. And so then when you go into grade, it's 1 score for the entire notebook for that whole lesson. A personal preference, I like to grade by section so I can, refine my points more easily, I feel like. So you would just click grade by section.
Here. And while we're in here, Amanda, just because Rachel had a question, I'm sure this is good for everyone. How you can grade by lesson, you can grade by section, but then also if we click on that student, we can either grade one kid's responses or we can grade the whole class responses. So Rachel was just asking, how do I just grade one kid at a time? What does that look like?
Yeah, so you would go view by student would be where you're just viewing a single student's responses on everything for that particular lesson. If you view by question, then that will show you one question at a time, and you can grade, you see all of your students listed here, and you can scroll down. And then give them a score. Like, let's say you want to grade question by question. You could say, okay, this question's worth 1 point, so I'll give them a point and then update it as you go through each question. So you would just click next up here, or you can use the drop down. All right, did that answer her question?
I think so. Yes,
Okay.
absolutely. And there were some questions about like, how do I change the point values? And I know in my K5 session earlier, we went through that, but that would be anyone wants to change anything, go check out the settings page. And if you click on settings and click on grades, you can manage point values and things like that from in there, or just like Amanda's showing right here, you could do that on this grades page here and go in and manually change the point values.
Yeah. So since I'm grading by section, it would be, I'd have this edit button section by section to change point values. So, and then just a handy tip, this does, scroll, even though on a Mac, it doesn't, the scroll bar doesn't show, but that is how you view everything in here.
And then the question that we just have in here is the graded point values. You put a grade in TCI, does that automatically transfer to Google Classroom? If we've done those steps right at the beginning that you showed us how to link our account, will those transfer over?
Yes. Yeah. So it does need to be part of the assignment, so you notice that I have intro to section 2 assigned. And so that would be part of their grade in here because it's out of 15 points because it's 3 sections, 5 points each. So you just want to make sure that you have a particular section assigned to your class so that it syncs to Google, and then grading it will sync to Google.
Awesome. Love that.
All right. Okay. So do you think, are we ready to take a look at assessment?
I'm going to say yes, go for it. I know we've got a couple other questions that are coming in here, but I think move on to that assessment piece and we can work from there. Okay.
All right. So Mr. Mormon had talked about sharing assessments in Google Classroom. So he was going to use the TCI test, which I have here. So you would actually, to use this, you would just go to TCI test, actions, use this test, and it creates a copy. So I already saved my copy. You can rename it if you want. But then when you save it, you would go back to here on the main assessments page. And this is your test to use now. Okay. So first I need to assign it to my class here in TCI. So I'm going to do that. And we're going to take the test on Friday. I can even schedule it to be available, Friday morning at, 8 a.m. when they get into class, or 7:30. I'm going to give it a title, Lesson 20 test, and assign that to my class. So now I see that it's assigned. And if I go to my assignments page, there it is. I've got that nice Google Classroom icon. So I know that it's synced over. And if I go to my classes under classwork, so here's the test. Again, it's a draft assignment. So I'm going to edit that and assign it to my students. And again, if I needed to edit it for any reason, I can do that in Google so that they see it at the time when the test is available. And then when my students come in, take it, they are taken right to the test. And the great thing is that when they take it in TCI, the multiple choice questions are automatically graded. So I would already have scores for that, and I would just need to grade the open-ended responses. And once I enter those grades in TCI, it'll sync over to Google Classroom. So I don't have to do any extra step in entering it in my gradebook there, which I would personally love as a teacher because that is tedious. Another tip I wanted to give you, if we don't have any questions on assessments, Kelsey.
Let me find my button there.
Okay.
There were some questions just about, like, in general, I think it's back to that grade book piece when you're in there and just like exporting the grades. Is there a way that I can print them? So there's some definite questions about that. Just in terms of, like, if you're in the TCI one, you're not doing it in Google, what would be the best way to be able to do that?
Well, yeah, you can print your scores by exporting to CSV.
Yep.
So that opens up a spreadsheet for you. So it'll download every score for every lesson. And then you can just print out what you need. But again, now, so you see my assessment here is showing up. So again, once those scores are in or done in TCI, they'll be synced to Google. But did I address that one question
about printing? No, I know. I think
yeah,
that,
okay.
no, yeah, you did good. Yeah, the export
okay.
that really is the best way to be able to take that there. And that's true too if teachers are using, I know there's some questions about different types of grade books that maybe it's not TCI or maybe it's not Google Classroom, but I have this other, you know, in my district, I taught it was Infinite Campus, right? There's other place where you have to upload our grades. So that export to CSV is a great one. If you want to take your grades from that and upload it into one of those grade books, you could do that if you don't want to manually think them over, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to show you as well a little handy tip if you're using Google Classroom. So sometimes you might have materials used for a lesson, whether it's placards or handouts. And if you go to the materials page over here, you can actually save the PDF to Google Drive, and you can actually select your classroom folder. So if I look at my classroom, so if I have my Google Classroom, I can select that and change or save the handout there. And then when I go to an assignment in Google, so let's say, you know, for this, they need to add or to use a handout for something, I can go to my Google Drive and find it in my classroom from my drive, which I might have saved it to the wrong folder. But yeah, so you can save it from TCI to your drive and then upload it to assignments in Google if you need it, if like students need access to a handout or placards. So that's one handy tip to know. And so if you want to share your slides with students, which Mr. Mormon mentioned, you're going to want to share them with students in here first. So make sure that students can access them. And then you would, let's see, actually you could also open them up here and post that link directly in Google Classroom. So that would be the way to share slides directly with students, so they would get here when they open the link. All right, so any more questions, Kelsey, coming in about, you know, TCI with Google Classroom?
No, in terms of just classroom, and there's some more questions just about the TCI gradebook, but in terms of classroom, as I look back through here, I think that we're pretty good on those right now.
Okay, great. So I'm going to return back here. So we've looked at how to set up your Google account and Classroom. So we looked at those 3 steps of connecting your account, connecting your class, connecting students' account to Google. And then we looked at how to sync assignments, assessments, and your grades. And then again, we'll be sharing this recording with you once they're all available so that you can watch this back again. And then again, I want to highlight our Help Center. So if you have your phone handy, you can scan this QR code and get right to it. It's also just help.teachtci.com. So easy to remember.
I just threw it in the chat too.
Great,
So the link's
perfect.
in there as well. Yep.
And when you're signed in, you can actually get there from here by clicking the question mark. It's going to let me know I'm leaving to a new site. So here it is. I'm going to go to Learning Management Systems here on the home page. And there is our setup article. So how to do this. What's really nice is that it walks you through each step, exactly what we went through. We have last year's Google Classroom webinar too, if you want to watch that. And so, you know, we hope that we have all of the resources you need to successfully set up and use this integration. We even have a troubleshooting article in case you need it. All right, so any final questions before we wrap up today?
I just see this one in here, you know, sharing the classroom activity slideshow in Google Classroom, sharing that link. That they're asking about sharing the link, we could do that, but then just those steps, if we go back to that settings and that integration piece, right? Once they're synced and you create that assignment in TCI, so maybe just showing that, yep, that integrations page one more time. Yep, perfect.
Yeah. So again, you'll want to connect your Google account here. And it'll look like this once you're all set up.
Awesome. Let's see, I'm waiting to see if there's any other kind of questions in here. In terms of, let's see, handouts. Thank you. Let's see. Well, there's some good things. Can assignments be auto-filled when grading? I'm looking here, and you would link handouts in Classroom that aren't part of the notebook. So there's a couple different things in terms of what you can assign. My understanding is once you've synced that, you choose what it is that you want to assign. In Classroom.
Yeah. So like when I demonstrated adding a handout, that's just if they need access to it, let's say a student is absent, you can do that in here. It's definitely not required. It's just an option for you if you want to, you know, kind of have everything in one place for a particular assignment.
Awesome. Perfect. Okay, it looks like that's it for now. I know there's a couple more things that you have to share in terms of tomorrow, and also our iPad winner. I know I've got some of that information when we get there, so hang in there. Don't leave yet, everybody.
Yeah. So first, just a quick reflection. If you could comment in the chat with the number that describes the emoji that best describes you now. So are you a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6? Kind of where's your head at after today's session, after this morning's session? How are you feeling?
We're all over the board. I love it. Lots of numbers. I think I saw a 45 in there. I'm not totally sure what that is, but I think I did see
maybe between a 4 and a 5.
Yeah, maybe that's what. Yeah, I like that. Okay.
Okay. Oh, Ramona loves TCI. Thank you. Appreciate that. Yes, there is a lot of content today, especially if you're new. It can feel like a lot, but we have a lot of great resources to help you. And I also think the best thing is to just get into it, you know, just
100%.
You know, go through it, kind of familiarize yourself with it, because it does get overwhelming with how much is available. TCI has a lot of content, which is great, but then it can be a lot too.
And I'll just remind, because I have a couple people asking about this again, you know, where could they watch this later on? I know if you're like me, to watch a info video like this, like pausing it and trying it out.
Yeah.
All of those recordings, as well as any of our other sessions for the summit, will be part of our summit resources hub. And so that's a link. I'm going to throw it again in the chat. You'll get this throughout, but when the recordings are done, we'll upload them on there. So you'll be able to have those and have access to them.
All right. Thank you, Kelsey. So we hope to see you tomorrow for our official virtual summit. So there's a link here to join, and you can also get it from our homepage from teachtci.com under professional development and the summit 2022. So we've got some great sessions for you tomorrow. Natasha dropped in the chat the pre-summit feedback. So that's the evaluation form. So you do want to make sure you click the link that Natasha just put in the chat. So that's how you get your swag and your certificate of attendance. Okay, so make sure that you get the link. Hang on to it too if you're watching with multiple people and you all need to fill out that survey. So we appreciate that. And we have our winner.
I'm gonna just throw it in the chat. Should we do, I wish we could do like a you know.
I know.
I'm not very good at that, clearly.
I know. I don't know if he's in here. Thomas Marcotte.
I'm gonna post it right there. I saw his name in here. So
really? Is Thomas in here?
I know he was. Oh yeah, he's in here. Sweet. Awesome.
Congratulations, Thomas. I'm so glad that I got to, we got to tell you that you won. So keep an eye out for info on how we can send you that iPad. So
sweet.
Again, thank you so much, everyone, for attending today. Hope you got a lot out of all of today's pre-summit sessions, and we hope to see you tomorrow morning or afternoon, depending on your time zone. And again, thank you so much for attending today. And let's see. Oh yeah, make sure you get that survey link. So let us know if you need it again. I think we do need the evaluation link again.
I'm posting it to chat right now, Amanda.
Oh, perfect.
Okay, thank you so much, Natasha.
And I also want to let you guys know you will get an email later on today. It will also have the evaluation. So if you miss it, it will be there, but fill it out now. It's always better just to get it done before you go.
Yeah.
And you will also get in that email your certificate with those, the 3 hours of professional development credit.
Perfect.
All right. Oops, that is not it. Okay, so we've got, if you scroll up in the chat too, we have that evaluation link posted a few times. And then like Natasha said, we are gonna send an email later today with the link to that evaluation.
And that evaluation, that's good for the whole pre-summit. So I know I saw some questions in the chat about what does that work for the first session of the day. That's for the day today. So go ahead and fill that out. Once you fill it out once, and as you do that, that is great. You'll be entered in to get that TCI swag.
So it should look like this. I was testing it out because Christina said the survey link did not work. It works. Okay.
I'm seeing that a couple people are saying it's working, so I think that we're okay.
Okay.
Awesome.
That's good. All right.
I love when people post in chat. Honestly, thanks all of you.
Yeah. Glad that worked out with our Q&A snafu. That
yeah, thank you so much for everyone being here today, and we hope to see you all tomorrow.
Yes, thank you.